What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Oddity Acres. Today we are in Gustavus, Ohio. This is a very, very tiny town closer to the eastern part of Ohio, north of Youngstown, south of Ashtabula, closer to the Pennsylvania border. But we're here to tell a very sad story. We're here to tell the story of Frances Maria Buel, who was tragically murdered by her stepfather. And she's buried right here in the cemetery. So stay tuned. So in this town, Frances Maria Buel lived with her mother, Ann Buel, and Ann would go on to marry a man named Ira West, and he was a really evil man, and he would become her stepfather. Now, one of the craziest things is that Ira West is the one and only person ever executed in Trumbull County, Ohio, which kind of brings a lot of notoriety to the story, other than it being such a tragic story. Now, years would go on, and the abuse would just continue and continue. It would become so bad that there would be days that Frances would be sick, and her father would, or stepfather rather, would refuse to provide medicine. It was an absolutely horrible home situation. Now, unfortunately, this abuse would go on for quite some time, and it even became sexual in nature. It was horrendous, really, to read the entire story. Until one day, Frances Maria Buel decided that she was going to take matters into her own hands, and she would disappear after one of these numerous assaults, and she would take off down the road, and she turned up at a local farm. It was the Mills farm, from what I've read, and she was seeking refuge. She was barefooted. She had basically just a handkerchief around her neck. She didn't have anything, and so she turned up there, and they harbored her. They kept her safe, and Ira West came looking for them. So Ira showed up at the farm and tried to persuade the farmer to let her come home with him, and they said, she's of age to be here, and so we're not going to force her out. She's going to stay here. And he was enraged. So some time would go by, and Ira would talk to some other neighbors and try to get something worked out to where he could, it's what he said, stop by and meet with her and drop off her clothes and things like that, pretending like he was going to give in and allow her to stay outside of the house. And they agreed. And when he did, he showed up with a butcher knife that he had hidden and stabbed her multiple times in the chest and the neck, and savagely killed his stepdaughter. Now, the neighbors jumped on Ira, but it was already finished, and poor Maria had died 10 minutes after the horrible tragedy. So Ira West was carted away and imprisoned for almost a year. Actually, a little over a year, because on November 1st, 1833, he was carted into the city to be hung. As I said, the very first execution and the very ever execution in Trumbull County, Ohio. I guess it was said that parents pulled their kids out of school to drag them into the square to witness this. This was a public event, much like the medieval times. This was a spectacle. Now, Find a Grave said that he's buried in this cemetery, but I don't believe so, because other sources that are more accurate, I think, say that he is actually buried somewhere that's unidentified, and that's probably due to the fact that his gravestone would have been absolutely vandalized, destroyed, ruined, so just like a lot of, criminals, serial killers, things like that, they just either are cremated or they don't have a marked grave. But this is it for the entire cemetery right here. It is extremely small. There's only a handful of graves here, and they're all very, very old. Really just beautiful down the outside of the farm here. It says, in memory of the young and beautiful innocent Frances Maria Buel, who was butchered by her stepfather, Ira W. Gardner, August 8th, 1832, in the 16th year of her age. It's always tragic to cover stories like this, but it is a piece of history, and to forget Maria's name would probably be a more tragic thing. So, to keep her spirit alive and to remember her, we cover these kind of things. I know this is kind of a quick one. Typically I would just do one of my cemetery journey shorts on it, which are really cool. If you guys haven't checked those out, make sure you do. But I felt like she really deserved a full spot, a little deep dive into her life and just explain what happened and say her name and mention her and honor her and come here and pay my respects. So that's what we did. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Oddity Acres. Please like and subscribe. It means a lot. Helps out the channel big time. And as always, stay scared. Happy Halloween.